results are, just, there's no point even measuring anything. It's so hard.
No point even measuring anything. Don't you just love that?
Point even measuring anything. It's so obvious that it's not 1.4.
Well, that just shows how wrong you are, doesn't it? So one took 38 frames to cover that distance, and the other took 52 frames to cover that distance. 52 divided by 38 equals 1.368, call it 1.37. In other words, Gary, half mass going 1.37 times, but it's going 1.37 times the speed of the other, not 2 times. Okay, how do you like that? So you've been talking bullshit yet again. You said there was no need to measure. Well, there is a need to measure. Your guesses are unreliable in the extreme. Your guesses are just you trying to con people to believing something that isn't true. I've taken the trouble to measure this as best as it's possible to do, considering what a shoddy, sloppy experiment it is and badly filmed. And I've still managed to get it to come out to effectively 1.4.
It's a pretty low amount of arc in the movement, so you can get pretty direct results in terms of you can just pretty much see a 2-to-1 relationship.
There isn't a 2-to-1 relationship. There's a 1.37 to 1 relationship.
Just huge velocity, as can be seen. Okay.
Huge velocity. You see, this is his very poor powers of estimation.
Huge velocity, as can be seen. Okay.
No,
so
not a huge velocity. 1.37 more than the other one.
You can see it goes way off the screen, really fast, really fast, really fast.
Really fast, really fast, really fast isn't a scientific term. It's a relative term.
Very fast. Not as fast, because it did go a little crooked, but you can see it goes.
It went a little crooked. Every single run goes a little crooked.
Now we'll go to the second video and you just see the dramatic difference.
No dramatic difference, unless you consider 1.37 times. Unless you consider that a dramatic difference, then he's wrong to make this claim. If anybody else said what he said, he would rip him a new arsehole, wouldn't he? He wouldn't let anybody else get away with saying, oh, I just guessed that to be 2 times the speed. So, Gary, what we want to do is we want to observe this frame counter here. Basically, we've got to find the start point of when this thing starts to move. The footage is already slowed down to a quarter speed off YouTube. Because I've slowed it down to quarter speed, 4 clicks, 4 frames on mine equates to 1 frame of his, really. I'll check that in a sec. So it's just started to move there. Let's go back. Right, so that is the start. Right, so now observe, Gary, that the frame counter is at 0. Okay, so then we count. I'm going to have to mark to a certain point to measure to. Here we go. Gary, observe that your lever is actually pushing this sideways, making it twist, making it turn, so it's not pushing it directly. Let's carry on. Yeah, you can see, can't you? It's just pushing this more and more sideways, and it's still in contact with the lever at the moment, isn't it? Here we go. So it's now free of the lever. Put a mark on that left-hand corner that's just finished being pushed. Just let me go back to the start, 0 frames. I'll first of all put a mark there on that same corner there. Starts there, so that's the point when it's released from the lever, but it's twisting it that direction. Your thing started off pointing that way, didn't it? And now it's pointing that way. But still, let's make the best of it we can. Let's measure how many frames it takes to get to a certain point. We want to minimize how much it rotates around, because when it's rotating around, it's not pushing the whole thing the same distance. It'll be pushing this end more than that end. This end can stay virtually stationary, while this end carries on rotating that way. Let's just pick a point anyway. Let's call it this point before it twists too much. So let's measure to there then, that exact corner there. So let's say that's what we're going to measure from the dead center of that there to the dead center of there. Okay, that was 38 frames, wasn't it? Now we want to find the other example, 2 mass. Again, it's been slowed down to quarter speed. Again, Gary, you've got to be looking at this frame counter there. Find the start point. Just trying to find the 0 point. That was it. Frame counter says 0. So we want to measure this over the same kind of distance, don't we? First of all, let's put a mark there on that same exact corner. It's going to be pushing this sideways, the same as it did the other one. So I measure from that corner, pushing the corner, it's not pushing it directly, is it? I need to have it going over the same distance. So can you see, Gary? It's pushing this sideways. That's why I'm measuring from that corner. It's still in contact with the rod, look. It's still pushing that rod sideways at that corner there, you see? That's why I'm measuring from that corner. It's still in contact with the rod, the lever. Now it's finally out of contact with the lever, so let's put another mark there just to signify that that's the point when that corner is no longer being pushed. Right, so now we've got to measure how long it takes, how many frames it takes to go over the same distance as the previous one. Let's say that is the same distance travelled. Dead centre there to dead centre there. I put a line through there and a line through there. Are they parallel? Yeah, I think they're reasonably parallel, aren't they? It's a fair indication that they're the same length. So we're measuring over the same distance, aren't we? Okay. So we're measuring these over the same distance. Now, in the previous case that was 38 frames. What is it now? Look at the frame counter down here, Gary, there. Frame counter, 52 frames. Okay. So we write down 52 frames now. So one took 38 frames to cover that distance, and the other took 52 frames to cover that distance. Calculator. So we divide 52 divided by 38 equals 1.368, call it 1.37. In other words, Gary, half mass going 1.37 times, but it's going 1.37 times the speed of the other. I think we can say, Gary, not 2 times. Okay, how do you like that? So you've been talking bullshit yet again. You said there was no need to measure. Well, there is a need to measure. There's an absolute need to measure. Your guesses are unreliable in the extreme. Your guesses are just you trying to con people to believing something that isn't true. I've taken the trouble to measure this as best as it's possible to do, considering what a shoddy, sloppy experiment it is and badly filmed. And I've still managed to get it to come out to effectively 1.4. Didn't go over 1.4, did it? It's a crap experiment full of flaws, but still came out against what you said. Doesn't support you at all. You moron. Now, why couldn't you do this? You're always bragging, oh, I could do all this software stuff, I could do all this editing stuff, and you never fucking do. You can't be bothered. This is free. HitFilm Express is free. You don't even have to pay for it. And you can use it to measure things reasonably accurately. Right. Bloody hell. What a shockingly poor performance. For 2,500 subscribers, it's got 3 likes. Even his own fans are ditching him. Even his own fans, apart from just, we got one stupid twat here. We've got this one stupid twat here. Okay. Great work here, Draft Science. Love the progress. Progress? Progress? You've got to be fucking joking. Dark Ends, Les, whatever you are. What's wrong with you? That you think this is progress? That this moron thinks that the half mass is going twice speed. I've already watched this. He thinks that this is going twice the speed, the half mass, of the other one. And he says, I've measured it. He says there's no need to measure it. I've measured it. It's going 1.37 times faster. Very close to the 1.4 prediction. Even though it is a crap experiment, it still came out at essentially 1.4. He's a fucking idiot. You're a fucking idiot. Anyone who supports this crap is a fucking idiot. Look in the mirror. You are a fucking idiot. Anyone who says, pardon me, anyone who says you don't need to measure because it's obvious is a fucking complete and utter twerp. Mentally defunct. Mentally fucked. My crappy Nokia phone making that pinging noise. Right, so I better show you the measurement. Measured it as accurate as it's possible to measure such a crappily filmed and a crappily constructed, crappily designed experiment. Completely pointless considering that he's got a perfect experiment proposal he came up with 18 months ago roughly, and he doesn't want to do it, refuses to do it, even though it's got no complications whatsoever. He doesn't want to do it. Why? Not because he's lazy, but because, well, that's one of the reasons, but he doesn't want to do it because he knows it proves him utterly wrong. Anyway, this will be a short video because there's nothing much to say about it. It's a pile of crap. I'll play through his pile of crap. I know he speaks slow, but he doesn't normally speak that slow, so sorry. So I slow it down when I was to do the video thing. He's put it on his normal speed 2 times so you can hear him.
The Liber catapult video. So as stated earlier, I decided to build, construct a catapulting device to get rid of the problems of having to move the lever with the force that you're trying to measure. So if you can get rid of it as a variable, that's what I did, and it seems quite preferable to do so. So this experiment does seem more to the point. So the device is quite simple. Just draw.
He just loves drawing, doesn't he? I think that's all he lives for, drawing. He's a frustrated Rolf Harris.
More time, I have a sledgehammer here, the fulcrum is on the handle, and I have a rubber band over here, and a consistently sized loop over here on a screw of fishing line to keep it in position. So it's going to spring this way and apply the same force, because everything's going to be stretched the same way. And you just put the 2 mass, 1 distance, and the 1 mass, 2 distances. That's simple, and the results are just, there's no point even measuring anything. It's so hard.
No point even measuring anything. Don't you just love that?
Point even measuring anything. It's so obvious that it's not 1.4.
Well, that just shows how wrong you are, doesn't it? That just shows what an utter prick you are. Look at that smug look on this dickhead's face. Because he genuinely thinks that he's proved something. And all he's proved is that he's a fucking knobhead. Nobody with science in their name can go around saying things like you don't need to measure because it's so obvious.
So we'll play the tape, and so links provided to. There's 2 videos. I just attached the different experiments together. So one video has the small items, and the other one has the heavy ones. So let me just play some of the video, and you can see for yourself. It's pretty damn obvious.
It's pretty damn obvious you're a bullshitter.
Let me move this a little bit just so you get the full view of it. I have a problem with this one getting it to balance on the lever correctly, but
you don't say.
Not a big deal. So the pendulum is 88 inches long. The weights are hanging from.
Couldn't give a shit. That's nothing to do with matter.
So it's a pretty low amount of arc in the movement, so you can get pretty direct results in terms of you can just pretty much see a 2-to-1 relationship.
There isn't a 2-to-1 relationship. There's a 1.37 to 1 relationship.
Of the velocity. Here we go. Zoom. So you can see the little spring almost in that video. And bang, just huge velocity as can be seen. Okay.
Huge velocity. You see, this is his very poor powers of estimation. Apart from anything else, you do need to slow it down anyway. Well, I've got it sped up to 2 times. Let's put it back down to quarter speed so you can see it at quarter speed.
So you can see the low string almost video.
Look,
And
it's swinging about all over the place because it's being pushed. As the lever does that, it pushes this to. If this is the lever and this is the object supposedly being pushed in a direction, what's actually happening is, as the lever does that, it pushes this in an arc. That's why it's swinging around. Therefore, I've measured to a point where it's travelled a set distance. Well, yeah, set distance. Done the same distance for both examples, and one came out at 38 frames, the other came out at 52 frames. Measuring on my HitFilm software, which is free software, by the way. Anybody can use, Gary. You could have done this yourself with the raw footage. You didn't have to rely on me to do it.
bang.
And this prick thinks
huge velocity, as can be seen. Okay.
No,
so
not a huge velocity. 1.37 more than the other one.
Reset it up. Do it again. And maybe I can move this as I cut the string. You can see it goes way off the screen, really fast, really fast, really fast.
Really fast, really fast, really fast isn't a scientific term. It's a meaningless, it's a relative term. It's just you trying to make an impression, a false impression.
Really fast.
Yeah, why don't you say it 5 times? You said it 4 times.
Really fast.
And you did.
Really fast.
6 times.
Got that part. Okay. So just yes, it goes really fast for a
7
lot of
times.
time.
No,
anyway, so
talk about being repetitive. It's really fast in relative terms. It's 1.4 near enough, 1.37 times faster than the other one, measuring over a set distance, because I can't measure over the full distance because it goes off the bloody screen, and by then it's twisted totally around. So how the hell do you measure when the surface it initially pushes has twisted round to face the opposite way? You can't, even if it was on screen, even if it hadn't gone off screen, because you're so fucking clumsy as a cameraman, you couldn't make it so we can actually see the full thing. Even if we could see that, though, how do you legitimately measure how far it's pushed when one side's gone forward and the other side's gone backwards? Yeah, how does that work? So I can only make a measurement before it's done too much of a turn. It's such a stupid experiment, Gary, and you must know in your heart of hearts this is a fucking crap experiment. Bloody awful. And unnecessary, knowing damn well you've got a perfectly simple experiment you could have done. The one you proposed 18 months ago that you said would decide things once and for all. And it has decided things once and for all. It has proved you wrong once and for all. All that's remaining is for you to acknowledge that. But you're not going to, because you've got no fucking integrity. You've got no fucking balls. You're a coward, a weasel, a liar.
here's the third version of it.
We don't give a shit. You can do it 100 times and it's always going to be the same shit. A shit experiment is a shit experiment no matter how many times you repeat it.
Very fast. Not as fast because it did go a little crooked, but you can see it goes.
It went a little crooked. Every single run goes a little crooked, more than a little crooked. Why would it go any better a second or third time? It's a poorly constructed, a poorly thought out experiment. No thought's gone into it whatsoever.
Quite a distance. Swings quite a large distance.
What's that got to do with it? We're talking about the velocity, not the distance.
Alright, so now we'll go to the second video and you just see the dramatic difference.
No dramatic difference, unless you consider 1.37 times or 0.7, near enough 0.707, the speed that we've just observed. Unless you consider that a dramatic difference, then he's wrong to make this claim. If anybody else said what he said, he would rip him a new arsehole, wouldn't he? He wouldn't let anybody else get away with saying, "Oh, I just guessed that to be 2 times the speed." No way.
It's bigger.
Dramatic difference.
No, it's not a dramatic difference. It's about 0.707 of the speed of the previous example.
You go.
There, that's the second mass. Dramatic difference.
It doesn't matter how many times you say it, Gary, it's not true. It doesn't matter how many times you say it, Gary, it's not true. It doesn't matter how many times you say it, Gary, it's not true. You are a lying bastard. You're a fool. You're a time-wasting twit.
Doesn't even get off the screen, doesn't get even close to going off the screen.
Since when has going off the screen been a method of determining success or failure of an experiment? So you consider it going off the screen just because you were too fucking stupid to know where to put the camera? Since when has that been a way of determining a good or a bad run, a good or a bad experiment, where one run goes off the screen and the other one doesn't? You're a fucking twit.
It doesn't go anywhere, frankly.
Frankly.
Barely, whatever. Or 6 inches.
Well, let's observe the actual footage then, in nice slow motion, freeze framed, measured, as carefully as it's possible to measure such crappily filmed work. It's not work, is it? It's just this guy fucking effectively having a wank online.
Barely. Should move this. Yeah, you can see that. So there's 4 of these, but yeah, not, obviously half the velocity.
Obviously not, because it's been measured to be not. I do find it funny that you think you can get away with this crap. Not even your own fans, out of 2,500 fans, roughly, only 3 are willing to go along with your crap after this being up for about a day. What a pile of crap. What a shit show. Not even your own fans agree with you.
Kind of obviously half. Obvious.
Stop saying obviously. It's such a pointless, meaningless word in this context. There's nothing obvious. If it was obvious, if your estimation was worth anything, your ability to estimate speeds of things, then when I measured it, it would have actually come out at, roughly 2 times. You would have been vindicated, but you've not been vindicated, Gary. You've been whatever the opposite is of vindicated. You've been debunked again. How many fucking times do we have to debunk you? Yes, it's fun debunking you up to a point, but every now and again I think, bloody hell, Gary, just do something right for once. Yes, it's entertainment. It's fun watching you make a prat out of yourself. But at the end of the day, we are interested in science. I say we, that doesn't include you. We, as in all your opponents, so to speak, we are genuinely interested in science, real results. But you just making up crap is just getting boring. Just do the experiment you promised to do. Well, no, just do the experiment that you promised would decide things once and for all, and has decided things once and for all. All that remains is for you to acknowledge that you were wrong. You're gonna pretend you've not watched this video because of, I've somehow outed you, I've somehow doxed you. How the fuck have I doxed you? I couldn't give two shits about any of your personal life. Ian Gosling hasn't doxed you. I think there's only one person who does regularly dox you, to the best of my knowledge, and we all know who that is. And I have no objection to him doxing you personally. I don't go out of my way to support him doxing you. I don't see the point in doxing you, really. It's kind of irrelevant. If by doxing you, you mean like using your surname or mentioning your relatives in any context at all. Your relatives have got absolutely fuck all to do with me. I have no interest. I've never had any interest. I've never expressed an interest. So you're a liar to go around pretending that that's a good reason to not watch my videos when we know darn well you sodding well do anyway. You're too proud to not let one of my videos escape you without finding out what I've been saying about you. So you'll watch them in secret and pretend you've not. Pretend you didn't see part of the experiment. The parts that just happen to be the important parts, like claiming that I didn't show you the launch method in that off the edge of a table experiment, when I absolutely did. You're just trying to frustrate us. But you don't frustrate me so much as entertain me. I find it fucking hilarious. It does get boring sometimes, but on the whole, it's entertaining. Anyway, let's move on.
Obviously.
Repeating something, Gary, that's wrong, it doesn't make it any more right. It doesn't gradually get more and more right. It doesn't even impress your own fans. Even they are not that stupid, clearly. So out of 2,500 people, three agree with you, or are willing to pretend that they agree with you. Some of them lick your ass so much they probably would still like your video even if they thought you were wrong.
All right. So that's the progress.
Progress my ass.
I think it's pretty decisive. But
You're an idiot. Pretty decisive.
blah blah blah. I can
Blah blah blah. That's the most sensible thing you've said all this time.
always do it a little better. Do
A little better. Fuck, you know. You could hardly do it a little worse.
this, do that, measure this, put bells, do all these whistles.
So measuring is bells and whistles, is it? Not relying on a moron's estimation of speed, velocity, that's classed as bells and whistles, is it? And yet when we measure something with a measuring tape, or if we fail to actually bother to measure something with a measuring tape, or show that we've measured it with a measuring tape, then we are somehow guilty of a crime. Different for you though, isn't it? One rule for you and one rule for everybody else. For you, you have such powers as Dr. Spock that you don't need to measure anything. Your powers of estimation are good enough. Well, I disagree, and even your fans disagree.
But frankly, I don't think a reasonable person is going to deny
Reasonable person. What reasonable person are you talking about?
that sure looks like twice the velocity.
Looks like, sounds like, seems like. Gary, you are hilariously stupid. Observably stupid.
pretty hard to pretend it's only 0.4 fast.
Don't need to pretend. We can prove it's only 1.4 times the speed. Camera doesn't lie.
Faster. Yeah, sure it is. Anyway, so yeah, that we'll just leave it this at that. And
That's good enough for you, is it? That really is good. So you think that this disproves 300 years of science, do you? This piece of garbage.
I will reply to other crap as it shows up.
Can't wait.
And such. Yeah, well, it's good enough for today.
Good enough for you. That's not saying a lot.
All right.
Or are you going to claim now that this is just the first attempt? What happened to your polished version of the previous one? You've given up on it as predicted. The one that you moan saying, oh, they're picking on something that's only me, a draft, me experimenting to see what the possibilities are. I knew you would never do it any better, because you never ever do. You're so undisciplined. Anyway, that'll do for now. Thank you for watching. Anybody who has, thank you, thank you, thank you.